So I've always liked when other YouTubers, do a quick bookshelf tour. My bookshelf kind of grew based on the inspiration of seeing other people's. I think what I have at no other bookshelf. Welcome back to the Muscle Code YouTube channel. This video is out within a week of the last one, so we're cranking them out now. We've reached the number one in our top five list of books that I wasn't crazy about, that most people seem to have enjoyed. And if you were a smart aleck out there, you watched my first two videos, you would say something like, there's been 2 book reviews or 2 book commentary in each video, so now that you're at the number one, there's only going to be one. Not true. So I have a tie for my number one by the same author, and we'll jump right into it. It's Stephen King, Stephen King's The Stand, and It. Tied for my number one book that I wasn't crazy about, that most people enjoyed. Quick backstory. I wanted to try all 3 of Stephen King's biggest works. So The Stand, It, and The Dark Tower. I wanted to try all of them as like a mini tournament to see which one I would like the best. The Dark Tower was the clear runaway winner with that. Maybe it's because it has more, fantasy elements in it, but it was the clear winner. So the leavings or the leftovers make the number one in this top 5 list. And to review Stephen King, I'm going to basically use his own words without any major spoilers. I think most people who are knowledgeable already know this in some capacity if you're interested in The Dark Tower. But he makes an appearance in the Dark Tower fantasy series himself. He's in there himself, as himself. And he comments on his critics' view of his writing. And he kind of not agrees with them, but he affirms it in some capacity. And I'm paraphrasing here. But he basically says that he's the prose is he's very readable. He's very readable. And he's smooth, and you can pick up his books and basically start reading, and it's like you're not even reading. It's not tiring. It's enjoyable. So he is very readable. But the downside is, and I'm going to use his own words, is that some of his writing feels a little empty. And I can see what he means by that. I've read a lot of different authors, and I really like Stephen King. But sometimes when I'm reading him, my mind starts to wander just a little bit, where you can tell that some of his stuff is just kind of surface level. I think he beat that a little bit with The Dark Tower, which is why it's my favorite. But we'll jump right into it and kind of apply that to these 2 books. Now, The Stand is a lot of people's favorite book of his. It's if people don't like the Dark Tower, it's either It or The Stand as their number one Stephen King book. So I'm almost a little hesitant to make this video because I know I'm going to get a lot of, not hate, but a lot of people are going to be like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? So here's why it makes my list. Now, The Stand, it's kind of like a Walking Dead without the zombies. So it's apocalyptic based on a little virus that was in a lab and it escaped. Very up to date with some things that happened over the past few years, I guess. But to me, in the end, honestly, and I've read every word, it was nothing special. I know there's some biblical, allegories and references that he worked in there to some Bible verses, but I don't. It went over my head if it is successfully in there, and it's just the characters. I didn't love the characters like I love I love the Dark Tower characters. So because of that, it just felt like almost like a carnival ride, just following around these characters to the ending of the climax, and then Randall Flagg is the bad guy, and it's just like he's a very idiosyncratic bad guy, and it just didn't quite like live up to that ultimate climax fight scene that I was looking for. I mean, there's some parts of the book that I did like, but to me, in the end, it was nothing special. A little on the long side, obviously. These are basically, you can use these as door stoppers. So I read every word, and it didn't really the reread, I would never reread it, which is kind of one of my main barometers for if I really love the book. On the other hand, unfortunately, I've never finished it. It's a DNF. It's a did not finish, but I've made it halfway. I've tried multiple times. I tried this past Halloween to finish it. I just couldn't. And to me, I think it's how I was raised, how I was brought up, where I didn't quite have chemistry with it. I mean, the group of guys, the group of kids, they like to they like to make dams, build forts. You know, they're crazy about their bikes. And a lot of kids in my neighborhood grew up like that. They would be down at the lake by the creek, you know, fishing or doing whatever. I was too much into sports to be, you know, to have grown up like that. So I didn't really connect with the childhood group. And I never was really in a clique or a big group like that. Maybe due to sports, maybe due to introvert, you know, tendencies, whatever. So I didn't really connect with the group of kids. And it just sent it and there is some people, even though this is a beloved book by Stephen King, and I might get some comments supporting it, there is people who are on my side in some reviews I've read, and it seemed repetitive after a while. So it would kind of show up in its different form based on the fears of that kid, and then it would be a long, you know, 15 to 20 pages of a little episode, then it's over. And then the kids do something, and then it happens again. And then, so it's like a big book of a repetitive, you know, little scary scenes that are enjoyable. But I've read a couple of them, and I'm like, okay, I see what this book is. It's enjoyable, but it didn't. To finish a book like this, to me, there better be something that's a little bit more layered, a little bit more built in, like some of the big fantasy books I've read, like Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson is this size, but I think it builds more eloquently, more exponentially to the end. I didn't get to the end of this. It just seemed like there wasn't nothing. It was the same repetitive, scary story. So it's a caveat that it's a DNF for me. Hopefully I'll be able to finish it, and then when I do, maybe I'll throw another quick video on it to see if my estimation, if my predictions were true. But that's all I got. So the number one is a tie between the two Stephen King novels that did not win my tournament. The Dark Tower was the winner. We'll do that. Dark Tower will be in the top 5 fantasy series videos that I'll do in the future. But for now, that's it. Hopefully within the week, I'll do the number one book that I did like that most people didn't. Within the week, hopefully. Let's keep the streak going. So thanks for stopping by. So I've always liked when other YouTubers, you know, do a quick bookshelf tour. My bookshelf kind of grew based on the inspiration of seeing other people's. I think what I have that no other bookshelf So I've always liked when other YouTubers, you know, do a quick bookshelf tour. My bookshelf kind of grew